Hi, everybody. I've had an absolute blast recording your championship intros on audio and also on video. And for those of you that didn't know, the videos can be done special exactly the way you like them, because these are green screens and we can do them with a scene behind me. Do you want a fighting scene? Do you want a beach scene? Do you want a race car scene? Any scene you want, we can give it to you. It's your theme and my pleasure. Just write our offices and we will answer you with the exact fee involved and how it'll get done. So here we are, and now it's time, and it's your choice. Cheers!
From the shores of Malibu where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China and back to the streets of Mexico City, where the UFC is coming. We are live. This is It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about but may be afraid to voice. Do not worry, we'll talk about it for you. We talk about it all. Sports, entertainment, UFC, sex, drugs, rock and roll, you name it, we talk about it. I'm here today with my co-host, producer, TJ DeSantis. TJ, I'm back from London. You're back from where?
I was actually home this week, which has been rare.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hola, mi amigos. Mi amo es Tejota. I'm going to Mexico City as well. That's the extent of my Spanish.
Well, senores y senores, prepare yourself for TJ DeSantis and prepare yourself for our special guest, none other than the controversial man who knows it all, says he knows it all, but we know he knows it all, Eddie Bravo. Eddie, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know shit.
I said that because I knew you were going to say that, Eddie. I'm just kidding with you.
I don't know if Eddie thinks he knows it all. He just asks everyone to look into it.
I know. Controversy and otherwise, but that's okay. One thing about Eddie, he'll give you a chance to speak your mind. But what I like about you, Eddie, is you definitely speak your mind. And so let's get your mind working today and get some talk happening. And by the way, I got a comment. The Chrome Dome looks good. Look at me. I feel like I have a lot of hair today. This is great.
I had to go TJ.
I knew I was
going to do this podcast. I knew I was going to do the podcast. So you know what? For TJ, let me shave the hair. No, seriously, I was.
Thank you.
The receding hairline was too ridiculous, and then the bald spot in the back. It was time to go. I actually shaved my head like 5 years ago, and for 2 months, and then I decided, let me let it grow back a little bit. But now it's permanent. I'm permanently bald.
You know what, Eddie? You got a good-looking dome. Enjoy it, and also too, the snow on the goatee, looking really, really good. You know what they say? Where there's snow on top, there's still fire in the furnace. So it's all good.
That's what they say.
Well, learn it, live it, love it. Eddie, you've got Mexico City this weekend, as we do with UFC. You've got EBI, which is the finest jiu-jitsu grappling promotion out there. You know, with grappling and jiu-jitsu promotions growing so strong, which I'm really happy to see. Who's your key people in the EBI this weekend?
We're bringing back our. See, now this is going to be EBI, but for the combat jiu-jitsu started in EBI. It started in EBI 11. That's where combat jiu-jitsu was introduced in UFC Fight Pass.
Didn't I announce that for you? EBI 11?
I think you did.
I think I did your first, combat jiu-jitsu. I love that. That was awesome.
And then EBI 17 was all combat jiu-jitsu. That was our first EBI where we went combat jiu-jitsu rules, CJJ rules. And this particular EBI, this Sunday in Mexico City, is going to be CJJ rules, featherweights. Did you know that, TJ?
I did not know that, and that gets me really excited because, I love EBI. I love the sub-only format, but I'm telling you, if you've never experienced combat jiu-jitsu in person, it's a combat sports experience unlike anything else. It feels like a fight night.
Yeah. And it's a 16-man tournament, so it's like a little documentary. It's a super fight factory. At the end, the finals is a super fight. You saw both competitors in the finals fight 3 times that night. So, it's the magic of the 16-man tournament, like UFC 2. They were the first to do a UFC 2 16-man tournament. That was the UFC that blew the show through the stratosphere. So, that's why we do 16-man tournaments, because of the impact UFC 2 had. It's just nobody knew anybody in that bracket. There was a random kung fu guys, random karate guys. Nobody even knew who Hoist was. Nobody knew any of those guys. Those guys were total no-names. But by the time you got to the semifinals, the final four, you knew those guys very well. It was like exciting. There was like two super fights right there in the semifinals, and then the finals, like Hoist Gracie versus Scott. What was his name? Patrick Smith. Oh man,
Uh,
that set the world
Patrick
on
Smith.
fire. That's why we're here right now. That match is why we're here right now. So that's what we're trying to do with EBI and combat jiu-jitsu. You can't have 16-man MMA tournaments anymore. That's too brutal. An MMA tournament 16-man is too brutal. But you
It's too
can
brutal.
have
Way too
combat
much.
jiu-jitsu 16-man tournament. And that's what we're doing this Sunday, Mexico City, UFC Fight Pass. Combat Jiu-Jitsu champion Matt Mash. He's going to be in it. Another combat Jiu-Jitsu champion, Gabriel Daffron. He's going to be in it. Tim Elliott from the UFC. He's
Yeah.
jumping in. And then we got our new 10th Planet Rising star, David Garcia and Jordan Worth. These guys are awesome. They're coming up. They're about to be huge stars.
With all the stars that are in your tournaments and all these UFC, ex-UFC fighters, that are coming out and going into different things, are you going to take a draw or rather try to grab any of the UFC stars, the Uriah Fabers of this world and stuff like that?
Oh, Faber's done it.
Has he done EBI?
He's done combat. Yeah.
I know he's done.
Yep.
He did combat. Oh, great.
Yep.
Who was his
We
opponent?
had like Josh Neer. Josh Neer
Josh
did
Neer,
it.
the dentist.
Near
We
was
have-
effing people up too. Near hits different on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we love having UFC fighters in our shows for sure. Because there's a lot of sub only shows out there. There's a lot of just no-gi jiu-jitsu without strikes. You
Right.
add the strikes, it gets a little closer to MMA. And so MMA fighters, they have to spend a lot of their time wrestling and striking, so they don't spend as much time on grappling as the pure jiu-jitsu players do. So for a UFC fighter to jump into a pure jiu-jitsu tournament, they're at a disadvantage, because they're spending most of their time working on striking and wrestling, But combat jiu-jitsu, they meet in the middle. So it's
They meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And the palm strikes, which I think people that have never really been in a street fight or really understand palm strikes, I mean, they can be pretty powerful. And it's the safest way.
We've had orbitals broken. We've had TKOs. We had straight knockouts. Yeah. I mean, they're not slaps.
No, it's not. No offense to power slap. It's not power slap. It's palm strikes, and quite frankly, in a street fight, a palm strike is probably much safer than a hand strike anyway.
That's just what I was going to say. I mean, Eddie, when we started doing combat jiu-jitsu, you were talking about how you wanted to keep jiu-jitsu honest and collect data and what is effective and what isn't, because we fall in love with the narrative of sport jiu-jitsu sometimes being mistaken with like what you would do in a street fight. You're not necessarily just going to try to attack legs when maybe two guys are trying to, punt you in the head at the same time. But like, you're right, Bruce. Like if you're in a street fight, the last thing you want to do is throw a closed fist and break your hand. And then all of a sudden you're in more trouble than you were, to begin with.
I mean, closed fist works, but for me, it's been palm strikes and elbows. So, but there's no elbows in EBI. You're not going to allow that. That's for sure.
No. Maybe one day extreme.
Maybe.
We have just combat jiu-jitsu with elbows and punches. How about that?
I have no problem with that, but then isn't that MMA?
Not on the feet, though, because you can't strike.
Not on the feet. It's just wrestling on the feet. We have get downs. We don't have stand-ups. We have get downs.
Got it. Well, that's because you get down. Eddie, how many EBI events are you having a year now?
I think it's 4 or 5.
It's really grown. It's gestated over the years into quite a little phenomenon that's going on right now. I'm so happy to see EBI, outside of EBI, the promotions coming up, giving a lot of people areas to compete and make money. But now Zuffa's entering the picture, going to throw $12 million into the sport of jiu-jitsu competition this year, as I understand it. Does any of that flow over to EBI? Is there any involvement with EBI and Zuffa? Is it just fight path?
I hope so, but I don't know, to be honest. I don't know, but it would be nice.
What are they
Let- let-
planning,
let-
TJ? Do you know? Are they planning to have like a Zuffa jiu-jitsu promotion, or are they going
yeah,
to
so
work with EBIs and stuff like that?
we've done 10 of them at this point. They're called the Fight Pass Invitational. Goes down to the Apex in Las Vegas. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be something where they have like a cross promotion with any promotion, but I will say I don't think there'd be an FPI or a UFC interest in jiu-jitsu if it weren't for Eddie. And Eddie's a modest guy, but I feel like EBI really showed the world that you can present jiu-jitsu to a combat sports world who maybe isn't a hardcore jiu-jitsu fan or practitioners themselves. Because for the longest time, jiu-jitsu shows to me, if you were going to get fans, you were getting a niche of a niche. Like combat sports as a whole are largely viewed by a small segment, besides for the big fights, but a small segment of sport fans. And I think what Eddie Bravo and Master Victor Davila have done has taken the concept of a traditional jiu-jitsu tournament and turned it into a television vehicle that can captivate people, for 3 to 4 hours and do so in a way where you can legitimately get as excited for it and be entertained throughout the same way you would a UFC fight night.
Well, I agree with you, and I'm glad that you said the word humble to Eddie, because I was kidding around with Eddie in my intro, although I do mean it because I think Eddie's amazing. But the cool thing about you, Eddie, is that you are humble, but your proof is always in the pudding. You make things happen. You talk about things and you make things happen, and I give you huge respect for that. What
Thank
you've
you. I
done,
appreciate it.
absolutely, what you've done with EBI and bringing it to the forefront. It's kind of like what the UFC did for martial arts. You're doing it with the grappling and the jiu-jitsu world. So kudos to you. Keep it going and keep it strong. And I think it's still this little rocket ship that's still just going forward. I mean, the end, not the end rather, but there's so much more to take place.
I'm curious Eddie's thoughts on this because Brandon McCatherine, who does commentary with me for EBI, we've talked about this for a couple of years now, but jiu-jitsu has gotten so big over the last couple of years. But he and I say that we're still maybe around like this UFC 40 time. This is like Tito and Ken.
That's my point.
We haven't had the Ultimate Fighter boom yet. Eddie, do you see that explosive moment coming on the horizon for jiu-jitsu to where it really levels up to, what not necessarily what the UFC has become, but do you feel there's a pathway to that Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner type of moment where it grabs the world and says, "Hey, you need to pay attention"?
I think so. With CJI, with the $1 million grand prize, that helps. That was huge. That weekend with ADCC and CJI, that was huge. I mean, maybe you call that a little Stephen Bonner moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
That I don't really know. I mean, you know me. I think the most entertaining form of jujitsu for the audience is jujitsu with strikes. That's why I do it. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it to be different. I'm not doing it to be original or anything because I didn't make that up. They were doing that in Brazil. They just didn't make a show out of it. I didn't invent a 16-man tournament. I didn't, invent jujitsu with strikes. The way I put it together is in hope. I think it's the best and most entertaining way to do it. 16-man tournament, jujitsu, high level jujitsu, and you could palm strike to the face and to the body. I think, if I had like a mysterious billionaire behind me that was, that trusted in my vision with combat jujitsu, and we had $1 million combat jiu-jitsu tournament, I think that would be insane.
Well, this type of promotion is going to go on forever and going to get stronger and stronger. It seems that a lot of people out there, I see them in Russia and stuff, all these variations of fighting events they're having, whether it's fighting in a car, fighting in a phone booth, 3-4 guys going to 3-4 guys going at females. It's just, all this stuff is going to fall by the wayside. This is solid competition, fighting competition. Now we have other things coming out, a variation on boxing, and I need your help on this, guys. They just had the Dirty Boxing Championship, right? Which I'm happy to see Jason Anik, John Anik's brother, if I'm not mistaken, was a commentator for.
Yep.
Kudos to him. John Jones has signed on as the promotion's co-owner. and along with Mike Perry, Malky and Kawa, the manager of John Jones' management team and stuff are all involved. What is the deal with this? This is you get to box with elbows. Is that what this is? Or
Yeah,
what is...
so it's basically boxing, but they use 4-ounce gloves. You're allowed to fight in the clinch so that they don't separate you every time you clinch up.
Right.
And I believe you're allowed to use elbows.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that. Is that the one that Yo Romero fought in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Roel and
Oh,
Andrei
shit.
Arlovsky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's
Crazy.
interesting. I haven't watched it yet, but I want to check it out and see it. We'll see how well that does, but obviously with the people behind it, it's got a chance to do quite well. There's so much entertainment in the pugilistic arts and the grappling arts for people these days. And speaking of the pugilistic arts, I have to take a moment here to send my sincere wishes and condolences to the family of Big George Foreman, who passed away last week at 76 years old. I had the pleasure to know George over the years, and just a gentle giant that he was, a man in his young days that you actually, people said they avoided him. They would walk on the other side of the street. He was a pretty tough, mean guy growing up in the world of Houston, but he brought so much to the world in boxing and was such a legendary figure. So let's take a moment to honor Big George Foreman for what he brought to the table and send best wishes and condolences to his family. I'm sure, boxing fan or not, you had to be a fan of George, whether it was his grill or his smile when he smiled or whatever the case might be. But he definitely left a footprint on the sports history of the world.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
told my wife that George Foreman had passed, and she was like, quote, "The grill guy?" I'm like,
Well,
yeah.
there was
the
one
grill
point he
guy.
was making $25 million a month
That's crazy.
off the grill.
I've bought 3 of them in my
Excuse me,
lifetime.
$5 million a month. $5 million a month.
I
And when he-
remember
when
his
they-
fight. I remember vividly him knocking out Michael Moore in
Yeah.
in the 90s, and that's when he won the title back, like at 48 or something, 40 something.
I think it
He's
was 44, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, it was the oldest person to ever win a heavyweight championship at the time. I'll tell you a quick funny story on that. My parents were at that fight at Thomas and Mack. I wasn't with them at the time, and the fight wasn't that great a fight. And they left on the round before he knocked out Moore because he was losing the fight. And when they got in the limo to go back to the casino, they all of a sudden hear that he knocked it out. They missed one of the greatest knockouts in boxing history.
Wow, yeah, it was a big
Yeah.
right hand. He just dropped
Oh,
like a sack.
Bob.
Of
Nailed him, that's for sure. But Big George, a pleasure to know you sincerely. Definitely. My brother announced so many, if not most all his fights. Okay, well, let's go into another thing here. Cain Velasquez has now gotten a 5-year sentence. Time served. He could be out by January of 2026. That's a tough one. A lot of people coming to his aid, pleading to get him released, but he's probably going to have to serve the time. But I just want to report it. I can't really comment beyond that. We all know the story. I mean, our listeners, I would assume, know the story.
Yeah.
It's almost like you wish he didn't have to go to jail for that, considering what he did. But he did the wrong thing in the way it was handled. And I wish him the best, too, dealing with what he has to deal with.
No parent would ever say that they didn't understand what he did. And, like you said, unfortunately, he did the wrong thing. He has to, pay for that. But, everybody would understand what he did and why he did it.
Exactly.
With time served, isn't his sentence like just a few months?
January 2026, he could be out.
Yeah. So he did like 8 months in county jail while they were holding him. And then I believe, even though he was out, he was under some sort of house arrest. They still allowed him to travel for work. But I do believe that time is going to be considered for how much he served already. So while no one wants him to go to prison for a long time, at least it's not as long as otherwise he may have been.
They wanted to give him 30 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Insane.
No, he was on edge for a long time. That's for sure.
And I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that, unfortunately, he shot and he did strike someone. You know, he did
Someone
shoot
else.
someone.
That's where it comes down to, right there.
Yeah, and there are minimums in this case. You know, you have to serve a certain amount of time. I think this is the best case scenario for Kane. But yeah, it's tough.
You know, on another end, when we're talking about, I don't want to call it self-defense, but whatever. Did you hear about the new app coming out from Uber?
What's this?
It's called the Protector,
Okay.
right? Uber with guns.
What?
It's been launched in Los Angeles and New York City. What they're doing is they're offering an on-demand access to armed bodyguards. So you can hire security professionals, they're active former law enforcement, military personnel, you know, obviously authorized to carry a CCW, concealed weapons permit, and to escort you around town. It starts at $100 per hour, 5-hour minimum, and it's a $129 annual membership to be part of it. So if you live in SoCal and you want a 5-hour protection for $500, you've got a armed escort.
That's cheaper than I thought it would be, honestly.
I think so too. It's actually pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would never need that, but you too
I'll
might.
need it to go to EBI when it's in LA. Just kidding. But it's interesting. I'm sure it's going to do a lot of business. You know, you hear about these people that make a lot of money on Instagram. I gotta find this thing. I was just reading about the fees that some of these people get.
What, for like posting reels and stuff?
Yeah. I lost the story, but I'll get it in a second. Okay, here it is. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he gets per post?
Oh, $100,000.
$3,234,000.
Damn.
I'd stop playing soccer. Just do
It's
that.
crazy. I was reading where Kardashian gets in the area of like 2 million plus.
Damn.
That's crazy.
And then, I lost the story. I'll have to find it here, guys. You got to give me a second. So,
What do you think about social media these days, Eddie? Like, Twitter's not Twitter anymore. It's X. It's changed a lot. Do you engage on that platform?
I have a Twitter, but I'm never on it. It was I deleted it years ago, but someone else took it. They took the @Eddie Bravo and started posting crazy shit. So I had to reclaim it, and so I reclaimed it. But I made one post in the last 5 years. I'm never on it. I don't fuck with X or Twitter at all. Facebook, I don't ever do Facebook. I just do Instagram.
Yeah, that seems to be the one that works out the best.
It's enough. I mean, Instagram is like, it's overload. You know, I couldn't handle another social media app. It's too much.
They're coming out. There's so many. It just takes so much time.
No TikTok, no nothing. Just Instagram.
What's crazy to me though is X has it, the integrated Grok, the AI. AI is crazy, guys. Like, I was having a real weird, deep conversation with AI the other day, and it's very interesting.
Well, you know, you see things like, and Eddie, you've seen them too. And well, you're not on TikTok, but there's like, you'll see like Joe Rogan, right? They're promoting products, and you know they have the hit the buy button right there, and they've got Dana. I see it a lot, and Joe, where they're AIing them in, talking about their products.
Yeah, there's a lot I see with Rogan where it's like a brief snippet of him having a conversation about something that's not even at all the product that they're hawking, but they manipulate it to make it look like it, and it's just
How do
crazy.
they isn't that illegal?
It is
100% illegal,
100%.
but no one, enforces it. Like, there are so many things that 5-10 years ago, I would say this is never going to fly. But at the end of the day, no one really seems to go after these people because we're all just swiping away and numb and no one cares.
But they have no problem going after people and censoring them like right away. You know, they have algorithms to do that. You would think they would have algorithms to spot phony ads.
100%. But at the same time, those algorithms are trying to curtail what people are saying. But the same company that has those algorithms are also taking money from these people to run these ads. And that's where I think the conflict is and why they largely get through.
It's wild. The bottom line is, if you're going to pursue it, you've got to have your attorneys go after them.
Right.
And some people just don't care.
Well,
They
and
let
then
it
that
go on.
costs money too, Bruce. Like, you know better than anybody. Is it worth pursuing maybe a trademark infringement if, the net result in sending a cease and desist isn't really going to do anything to begin with? Why pay the fee?
It's worth in one way. And that's basically if you have an attorney that works on contingency,
Right.
And if they're on contingency, as I've done with attorneys in the past, with Let's Get Ready to Rumble and It's Time, then you don't have to worry about that. The last thing I want to do is get involved in a lawsuit. If I have to, I will, because that just goes on forever. The only people that make out really are the attorneys until the final judgment, and then try to collect. Either you're going to collect or you're not going to collect. The thing is, if you have a rock solid situation in copyright infringement or trademark infringement, is to hit them with a cease and desist and stop it right away.
Yeah.
Because misuse of your trademark or your copyright can actually damage the trademark and copyright. And then the government comes down to the fact that if you don't try to protect your copyright and trademark, then it can be taken away from you. You can be sued. One time I had to go after Don Imus and his radio show for misuse of Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And they tried to sue us at the time, Infinity Broadcasting. It's public. I'm not going to talk about prices or settlements, to free up the Let's Get Ready to Rumble trademark. And I had to go back into court and fight that against them.
Mm-hmm.
And we were right, and nothing came of it. But you've got to protect your trademark. The bottom line. You just can't sit back and let people abuse it if you own it.
You have any trademarks, Eddie? Have you trademarked crackhead control?
10 Planet Jiu Jitsu is trademarked. EBI, Combat Jiu Jitsu Worlds, Medusa. That's
You
it.
trademark all those. Do you use them at all? You just trademark it again, like I'm talking about, to protect yourself, Eddie?
What do you mean, do I use it?
Like if you had to fight it, have you ever had to enforce it?
Oh,
yeah.
No. I haven't had to enforce anything.
You know what's interesting to me is you mentioned Combat Jiu Jitsu. You have a promotion called Combat Jiu Jitsu Worlds, and it just so happens to be the actual name of the sport. So no one can even talk about Combat Jiu Jitsu without technically saying your trademark.
Kinda.
Which is pretty great. That's good. That's good branding.
It's excellent branding. Hey, did you hear about the Boston Celtics?
What about him?
Highest price ever sold for an American sports franchise. It sold for $6.1 billion.
Oh, my God.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
That crazy?
Who?
A lot.
The Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics. What other sports do you follow besides MMA and grappling and all, Eddie? Are you into football or anything like that?
I love football. I'm a football fanatic. I love the NFL. I watch podcasts
Russell Wilson
on the Browns
Russell
day. Every day I watch podcasts on the Browns in the off season. Right now it's the off season. But every day there's news, like on the draft, who they're going to draft, the top draft picks, who do we need, trades, free agency. Every day there's some. I'm all about that. It's the ultimate.
Did you hear about
distraction.
Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson just signed with the New York Giants.
Yeah. And they got
1-year
Jameis
deal.
Winston too.
What's that?
They got Jameis Winston too.
Yeah,
they
you
signed
are
both
a
of them
fan.
the same
Listen to
week.
you. Yeah.
Oh,
Russell Wilson got.
I listen to this all day. I use it to distract myself from like the news. Like after a while, you stay on top of the news and you're like, okay, what's going on? The JFK files, fucking Biden. And then I need to stop with that and just watch a music documentary or some football stuff.
Where's Aaron Rodgers going to end up?
We don't know.
They're actually talking about. I
Probably
heard Minnesota.
Steelers.
What's that?
Probably the Steelers. Minnesota's going to stick with J.J. McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers will probably end up with the Steelers.
Actually, that would be good.
That'd be
That would
perfect.
be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got
need
DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Shit. That's powerful.
Listen to you, Eddie. I think you know more about football than I do.
Oh,
Wow.
I watched Eddie in a hotel bar going nuts over the Browns one time. He's into it.
I know everything about the Browns. I know their practice squad. No, I really practice squad. Couple guys. I really don't know all, but everybody that's on the team, I pretty much know everybody. I mean, I listen to Browns podcasts, like I said, every day, multiple.
That's crazy, especially in the off season.
Yeah, crazy.
Well,
right?
listen, if you're a fan, you're going to pay attention. That's for sure. Eddie, you like good watches? You like a good Rolex?
I don't have any watches.
You don't have
I'm,
any at all?
I'm not a watch guy. No.
I was just reading a story here that you're familiar with the actor, the famous legendary actor Steve McQueen, I'm sure, right?
Of course.
Yeah, he was a good friend of mine for the last 6 years of his life when I was growing up in Malibu as a kid. His son, Chad, who passed away, I'm sorry to say, last year. But at the time, Steve died at the age of 50 from mesothelioma cancer, if I say that correctly.
Mesothelioma.
Yeah. And one of the biggest legendary stars ever. He was known to wear this Rolex Daytona. It was like either that or a Submariner black face with the black dial. And he had two of them. One of them was auctioned off for $800,000 a few years ago, and it's going to be up for auction again. The story I wanted to mention on this, after Steve had passed away, his son Chad and I were surfing in front of his house, and Chad was wearing the Submariner Rolex, and we were surfing. It fell off his wrist.
Oh, no.
In the water. Yeah, we spent like 2 hours combing the bottom of the ocean, diving down, trying to find it. We could never find it. And obviously it meant more to him than the money because it was his dad's watch, but there's $1 million watch sitting on the floor of the ocean in Malibu at a place called Trancas Point. Crazy, huh?
I'd be out there with the metal detector.
Brought back this memory to me.
Someone tried to sell me a Rolex on the corner in New York. It's $80. $80.
All right, little UFC talk here for a second. The welterweight bout with Leon Edwards and Sean Brady. Were you impressed with Sean Brady's grappling in that final main event, Eddie?
You know what? I did fight companion for that, and I had to catch a flight. We had scheduled conflicts, so I missed the main event. But I heard he just took him down and just, what did he, arm triangle him or rear naked choke?
Rear naked.
Rear naked got it, but there was an arm triangle at one point. But yeah, rear naked got it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Sean Brady's a beast on the ground.
He's
Oh
a
man,
beast.
yeah,
Muscular beast.
Sean Brady is crazy strong, crazy technical, and just a savage on the ground.
Yeah, well, you know who really proved himself and very interesting, and he's fought more than like anybody. What is it, 24 times in like 3 years or whatever it's been. But Kevin Holland, his match against Gunnar Nelson, very impressed with that. You saw that one, right, Eddie?
Yeah, that was a great fight. That could have went either way. That was a close fight. That could.
Yeah, it was very, very close.
Yeah, even Kevin Holland said, "Man, it could have gone either way." He said it too. It was. I would have called that one a draw.
Yeah,
that would have been a draw on my card because that first round, you had to give it to Kevin Holland. Didn't he almost knock? He got saved by the bell, right? Gunnar Nelson in the first round. That's a 10-8, right?
Yeah.
That's a 10-8.
Yeah.
And
so then 10-8 round. That was definitely
if
a 10-8
Holland
round.
loses the next two rounds, he could have lost the next two rounds. That could have been a draw. But they gave him one of those rounds, so he wins. Kevin Holland at
exactly, and
170.
Molly McCann, who is a fan. Exactly, Molly McCann, her retirement. She's been a fan favorite for the UK crowd and others. Kind of an emotion. For me, it's always an emotional moment when somebody retires in the octagon. And I asked her after the fight because I saw her taking off her gloves. I said, "Molly, are you going to retire?" And she said, "Yes." And I told her it was a great announcing. And she came in, she gave me a hug. Like, it was just like, she didn't want to leave the octagon, but I think she realized that it was her time to go, with that loss. So very emotional. Is it emotional for you guys at all when you see people retire?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know what goes into the sport and what you have to sacrifice. And, no matter what, anybody that's been around, and even just to get to the UFC level and stay there, when they come to that realization it's time to take off the gloves and leave them in the octagon, even if you're not the biggest fan necessarily of that athlete, it's hard not to, get a little bit choked up knowing what they're, leaving behind.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially if it's one of your favorite fighters retiring. You're like, oh man, I'm never gonna get to see them fight again unless they get into some tax trouble. and they have to take a couple more fights, then you're like, cool, he's back.
Back, or they jump into EBI, Eddie, and you got to pay the big bucks.
Exactly.
Oh, Eddie went quiet on that one.
You're kind of cutting out a little.
All right,
bit,
we've got.
but-
Oh,
We're
am I?
working
I'm sorry.
through it. It's all right. Service
Okay.
issues.
All right, we've got Mexico City coming up this weekend. I'll be in Mexico City. Eddie, you'll be there. TJ, you're going to be there commentating on EBI also. You
Yes,
going to be
sir.
at UFC?
I get in Friday. I don't have a way into the UFC. If something happens, I'll probably be there. But otherwise, I'll just be hanging out, probably with BMAC.
All right. Well, I'm going to be in late Friday, out early Sunday to do the show.
Why don't you get us
Brandon
a
Moreno,
couple tickets, Bruce?
you've got the best connection for tickets in the world, Eddie.
Yeah, Bruce Buffer. That's our connection.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check with me on Saturday. I may. Check
All
with
right.
me. Check with me on Friday. Okay. Text me.
All right. I'm going
All
to do
right.
it.
Okay. But it would have to be you and Eddie.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm down.
Okay. Of course you are. I know Joe doesn't go to Mexico City. Joe doesn't leave the country, right?
Yeah, he
Not
doesn't do
so much
international.
anymore, no.
And I read a statement from the other day that he doesn't want to go to Canada.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Read that statement too. Interesting. But, Joe's Joe does what he does. There is a big show in Montreal in May. I know that. So, I always enjoy going to Canada. I love Montreal. Actually, last time I was in Montreal, or years ago, Eddie, were you with us? We went out to dinner? Or was it just Joe and I? I remember I went out to dinner with Joe.
The last time I was in Montreal for the UFC was, like 2008 or something.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Montreal's got a lot of great restaurants, but
Yeah.
anyway, I love doing shows in Canada. But anyway, aside from that, we've got Brandon Moreno and Steve Erceg in the flyweight bout. And did they fight before?
No, they haven't
First
fought
time?
yet. Ursig fought Pantoja.
That's what it was. Kelvin
And how did that
Gastelum.
one go down?
Ursig got, I believe it was a short notice fight for Ursig, and he did pretty well, all things considered, but he came up on the losing end.
Decision?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Manuel Torres and Drew Dober for the co-main event. Drew Dober would come in to fight tough. Manuel Torres, that's going to be a good, solid fight. Raul Rosas Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and Vince Morales. Rosas has a chance. He keeps going. Is he on a win streak?
I believe so. He stumbled maybe like a year ago in
And then he's
Miami.
got like 3 wins in a row, I think, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Both of his brothers fight too. It's crazy. I mean, he's a young kid. I don't even think he's the oldest of his brothers, but yeah, they're a fighting family over there at the Rosas.
All right. Well, they've got a good makeup here. Mexican fighters, Peru, America. It's quite an international card. 13 fights on the card. So
Hey, real quick, speaking of Mexicans, despite him not being Mexican, Diego Lopez going to be fighting for a featherweight title. The first time I ever saw Diego Lopez was in combat jiu-jitsu, and that kid has been on fire in the UFC.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Brandon Moreno, he did combat jiu-jitsu and then got his belt after that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good,
Experience. Trying to help you out.
I can't think of the word. It's like, it's a good combat jiu-jitsu is perfect for aspiring MMA fighters, get your feet
That's
wet.
the way to
a little
put it,
bit,
Eddie.
You know what I mean? Get your feet
That's the
wet.
way- that's
a
the
little
way
bit.
to say it.
Coming from jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, combat jiu-jitsu, MMA. It's a good
Yeah.
stepping stone. That's what I was
Good.
looking for.
Yeah,
Good stepping stone.
Cody Steele's a great example of that as well. I know
Exactly.
Cody came up short in his UFC debut, one fight of the night though, but it is pretty cool, Eddie, to see some of these guys, even that are already established, come over and do CJJ, but also you see this young crop of talent that haven't even really got their MMA careers going. They shine in CJJ, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, CJJ is great for grapplers who are aspiring to be MMA fighters to, compete in, and also MMA fighters who are done with the brutality and want to take it down a notch and go back the other way. You know, there's some guys that just can't take that Muay Thai, that stand up Muay Thai, just a little too brutal. You know, but they love jujitsu and they love competition. They come back down, do CJJ like Uriah Faber did it. You know, a few retired MMA fighters have done it.
But
Yeah,
when you get down to it, all the training they do leading up to a fight is jiu-jitsu competition, when you're sparring. I mean, maybe you're not going as hard as you want to go, but it is a dangerous yet safer way to compete.
Yeah, so I've been able to call a lot of MMA, a lot of boxing, and a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I will say that jiu-jitsu at its core, but even more so combat jiu-jitsu, it feels, honestly, the ebb and flow of a match, it feels most like MMA.
I agree. Hey, guys, on a little segue here, and then we're going to close out. You ever have hot coffee spilled on you in a restaurant?
Never.
No.
Starbucks, right, at a drive-through, a jury in California has ordered Starbucks to pay damages to a delivery driver when the lady at the window handed him his coffee. It spilled and severely burned him, right? And this was in Los Angeles. It's supposedly caused severe burns, disfigurement, debilitating nerve damage to his genitals when the hot drinks were spilled. How much do you think the court awarded him first and told Starbucks they have to pay him? Take a guess.
Is it north of 7 figures?
Yes.
2.5 mil.
$50 million.
Gee, get out of here.
$50 million. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry it happened. Wow, that's crazy. And if you remember back in 94, there was a lawsuit with McDonald's where a woman spilled hot coffee on a lap.
That one gets a bad rap though, Buff. The coffee machine in that McDonald's incident was so hot that the coffee was actively boiling.
Yeah.
Which you should never be serving someone that hot of coffee.
No, you shouldn't. She got $3 million on that one.
I mean, 1990 money, so is probably closer to 6 or 7 in today's terms.
Yeah. Well, again, appeals will be coming in, so see what happens. Sorry to happen to the guy, but $50 million. It's just.
I mean, you want to give me 50 mil to pour hot coffee on my crotch? I might be open to that.
Yeah,
Well,
just
don't
get a
use my
buddy to apply and work at Starbucks and just have him do it. Because the person that did it didn't have to pay anything, right?
Nah, they're getting $15 an hour. They're lucky to have a job. They're not paying anything.
Well, if anybody uses my image in AI, I'm going to definitely try to get in this courtroom with the same judge. That's all I can tell you.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, Eddie, we're going to close out. Anything you want to say beyond what we talked about?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you very much for having me. And, let's do it again sometime soon.
Promote
Always.
your podcast, Eddie.
My podcast is called Look Into It. It's on Rumble. If you're interested in jiu-jitsu, we got 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu all over the world. Go to 10thplanetjj.com/locations. And that's about it.
Very cool. Okay. If you guys come to the show, will you come together?
I mean, if Eddie will hang out with me, sure.
Absolutely. Are you already?
All right.
Are you already writing an email for some tickets?
I'm
But you know what? I
checking
got to bring. See if you could get 4, because like Victor's going to want to go with Tori. See if you can
the
get
most
4.
the most I could do is 2, Eddie.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
you
right.
know, Victor's probably going to. He probably
Isn't he
he's
going to be
probably
working?
He's
I'm not
working the
sure.
show.
I'm
He'll
not sure if
he'll be doing the Hispanic commentating table, I would think.
All right, do this, Buff. If you can get tickets, give them to Eddie. If Eddie doesn't have someone more important than me to bring,
No, for
then
sure.
I'll come.
Go. Me and you, TJ. Let's go.
Oh, that'll be
Let's do it.
sweet.
I'm down.
All right, Eddie, stay on.
Be there too.
Eddie, stay on, and we'll figure something at the end of this. Okay, just stay on. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to check while I have you on the air. All right, TJ, go ahead.
Yeah, Eddie Bravo Invitational going down Mexico City. You can watch it live on UFC Fight Pass. Eddie already said 16-man, one-night tournament. The most intense, aggressive jiu-jitsu show on the planet. You can watch it live, all part of your UFC Fight Pass subscription. Do that, and then follow me on all the socials, at TJ DeSantis.
Fantastic. All right, and everybody, I will see you from the Octagon on Saturday for Mexico City. Then time off. Next stop is Miami. And thank you all for tuning in, listening to Eddie Bravo and TJ and I hack it out here. As always, be the best you can be when you set out on that yellow brick road to your future. Just be the best you can be and perform at your best, because then you're winning. And that's what we're all about on It's Time Radio, is winning. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great week. London was awesome. Mexico City is next. And then it's to get a week of rest, staying home, which I'm looking forward to. Big cheers. No fears, everybody. Talk to you next week.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.